Good morning, everybody. As you go to the Chitas of today, today is Friday, we're holding the sixth reading in the portion of Re'eh. We're holding the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 15, verse number 1. Miketz Sheva Shonim Tasa Shemitah. At the end of 7 years, you need to make a year of Shemitah. Rashi says, might think that this means that the 7 years from each and every loan. Therefore, the Torah says the 7 years approaching. So it's not the 7. This is the concept of you have to forgive your loans. It's not that from the 7th year of the loan, it's the 7th year of the Shemitah. That means even if I gave a loan this year, next year Shemitah, the loan should be forgiven. If you have 7 years of giving for each loan, how can it be approaching already the time of the loan? It depends by who it is. You thus learn that the 7 years means the 7 year of sabbatical years. And that's so it's the way that it's connected to the Eretz Yisrael, it's connected to the land of Eretz Yisrael, the 7 years that the Yidden came into Eretz Yisrael. V'zeh Dara Shemitah. And this is the type of law of Shemitah. This is the type of release of Shemitah. Shemeid kol mal masi adadav. A person, every creditor, this is what the Torah wanted to do, that every creditor should forgive his loan. He should forgive your loan. You're not allowed exact payment from your fellow. That's Achav and his brother. Kikara Shemitah Lashem, because it came Shemitah to the year. Now she says Shamit, the word Shamit is to relinquish the hand, meaning the claim of every creditor. Yes, Anochi Tigesh Vasheli Ilchas Achicha Tashmi Yedecha. You can take it. You don't have to do this law from a loan of a non-Jew. And so also if his loan is not affected either, but you're not allowed to do that to your brother. As Anachi Tigesh, Rashi says, Zum mitzvus essay. This is a positive commandment. However, since there's no destitute in your nation, because the Eibishter will bless you in the land, Asher Hashem which God will give you as an inheritance. So here Rashi says we have an interesting expression. The Torah says there won't be poor people. Ulahalan, and elsewhere it's written Ki leach, there will always be poor people. So how do you put the two psukim together? However, the explanation is when you fulfill the will of God, Dester will be amongst others, but not amongst you. But when we don't fulfill the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there will always be Evyanim, there will always be poor people amongst us. Evyain, what means an Evyain? So Rashi says an Evyain is poorer than an Ani. The Evyain means that he desires everything. He lacks even the basic sustenance. An Ani has a little bit, but he doesn't have much. And an Evyain has nothing. Provided that you hearken to the voice of God, your God, and the safeguard of all His commandments, which I command you today. So Rashi says, then meaning the pasuk is saying that the Eibishter will there won't be any evyayin, there won't be any poor people, destitute people really. Shamaya Tishma, double expression. He who hearkens even to little will be given our opportunity to hearken for even the aspects of the hard aspects. The Eibishter has blessed you, as He has promised you, and you'll be lending many nations. You'll not have to borrow many money. You'll rule over many nations. They will not rule over you. Rashi says, where did the Eibishter say these things that He's going to bless us? And that is the blessing in which next week you will be blessed in the city. It's brought down next portion. Rashi says you will lend whenever lending is used, referring to the lender. the hifel, the causative form, is used as vavarta vihil vesa. So there's a concept, you will do that because you'll have such an abundance that you'll be able to help everybody. Vavarta goyim, you will lend to many nations. I might think this means you will borrow from one in order to lend to another. Therefore, Torah says, no, you will not borrow. You won't have to borrow even. You'll have so much wealth that you'll have enough to give to everybody. Vavarta goyim, nations, I might think, I'm sorry, v'mashalta b'goyim rabim, I might think this means other nations will turn to rule over you. Scripture there states, and they will not rule over you. Verse number 7. If there'll be amongst you a destitute, amongst your brothers, in your land, which God, your God, has given to you. Don't harden your heart. And don't close your hand for the poor person. Again, Rashi says, the wording implies whoever is more wanting takes priority. Your paternal brother takes priority of your maternal brother. Sharecha, the poor of your city, takes priority of the poor of another city. So family comes first, and your city comes first, your community comes first. Since they're a type of person who agonizes over whatever to give or not to give, it says, so you must not harden. Since there are types of person who opens the hand but considers to close it, as it says, you must not close it. So therefore, it's two expressions. You mustn't harden your heart. And number 2 is you mustn't close your hand. You should open your hand. Loy for him. You should lend him. What he's lacking, what he needs, and whatever he's lacking. Rashi says, Peseach tiftach. You should. Why is there a double expression? Open, you should open, because you should help a person many times. Also, ki here means rather. Or lend him, meaning even if he doesn't want to accept money as a gift, give it to him as a loan. That's why the Rambam writes, the greatest way of giving tzedakah is giving a person a loan and not accepting the money back, maybe. So, but give it to him as a loan, make the person feel that he can pay it back. Dei machseirei, what means enough for his needs, but not to command. You're not commanded to make the person wealthy. You're commanded to help him with his needs. Sheyach shaloi, even a horse to ride on, or servants, that the Gemara says, if a person, who, God forbid, a wealthy person who has horses and servants, now he becomes poor, that's dei machseirei. That's what he's lacking. So we need to fulfill what he's lacking. Loi, what means to him? So Rashi says something beautiful over here. The greatest tzedakah could be is to make a shidduch. It refers to a wife. It says regarding Eve's creation, I'll make compatible help of the greatest concept of machseirei is a shidduch. When a girl needs a shidduch or a boy needs a shidduch, that's what he's lacking. And it's a big mitzvah to help bring about shidduchim, to help bring about that the people that are lacking a shidduch should get married. Be'ezat Hashem. Verse number 9. You have to be careful, maybe your unfaithful thoughts in your heart, saying, behold, Shemitah is around the corner. You can say, how am I going to lend money to my destitute brother? You'll say, forget it, I'm not going to lend him money. In a year from now, or a couple months from now, it's going to be Shemitah, and the loan's going to be forgiven. So therefore, you're going to say, you'll be a lender until the year before Shemitah. And the year before Shemitah, you'll stop lending money. So you should know that those people that need your loans will call by God, call unto God, and you're going to have a sin. Rashi says he will call against you. I might think that this is a command. Therefore, the Torah takes that he does not cry out. In any case, even if he does not cry out, if so, why does it says he will cry out against you? Because I punish more quickly the sufferer if the sufferer cries out to me than if he doesn't cry out. So therefore, don't do that. You should always give. You don't even have it. Your heart must not grieve for helping out another person. Because when you help somebody else, the Eibusher will bless you. And all your endeavors, and all the works of your hand. Rashi says, nothing, titin lo, even 100 times. I think, why am I helping the person constantly over and over and over again? To help him over and over and over again. Loi, between him and you. When you help somebody, don't make it public even to embarrass him. Help him privately. Don't embarrass him. Even if you only said that you'll give, but you'll receive the reward by stating your intention as well as the reward of the act. Here is the previous Rashi's statement: for they'll never seize people that need your help. Therefore, I'm commanding you, saying, open your hands to your brother, to your poor, to your destitute, in your land. Came because of this. Leimar, I'm giving you advice for your own good. To your brother, to your poor one. To which brother? To one who's poor. Laniyecha, the poor one, Laniyecha, written and refers to is over here with one yud. To one person. The Aniyecha with two yuds refers to two or more people. If your brother, a man or a woman, is sold as a slave, and he works you for 6 years, in the 7th year, you need to send him free. There's going to be we know this law already, but it's important, the next part of the law. Rashi says, if he's indentured to you by others, the verse is speaking about one who is indentured by the court or for theft. But somebody sold, he stole money. But doesn't already say if you buy a Hebrew bondsman, that's already brought down in the book of Shemais. The scripture there is also speaking about a bondsman indentured by the court. So it's only repeated because two details that are added here. Firstly, it's written a Hebrew woman, or Ivriya, teaching that the Hebrew bondswoman also leaves after 6 years. This does not refer to a woman indentured by the court, for a woman is not indentured for a theft in general. It's only a man who the court can sell. The only way a woman can become a slave is she sells herself. But she cannot, or Torah law, the father as a child gives her to in this context as a bondwoman. But she cannot be sold by the court. This is not to render indentured to the court. So for a woman is not, as it says, he must be indentured for he, beginning vasai. It's in the masculine, and not she for her theft. Now the Torah speaks about a minor girl whose father indentured it, because her father didn't have a shidduch, so that's how they got a shidduch. Made sure that the girl had a shidduch by giving her over as a maid to a person. It teaches here that if the 6 years elapse before she reduces signs of puberty, so we know the Torah said, if you remember Shemais, that a girl doesn't make a difference 6 years if she has signs of purity, she's freed. You have to let her free. So we're talking about a situation that 6 years came about before puberty. She leaves service then. Further detail here added is Hanik Tanik. And this is another law we have. Hanik Tanik is next verse. That you must provide him with a gift. You have to send up, when you send a slave away, you got to give him Hanukkah. Means you have to give him a certain amount of money per year of his service. This law also runs into the concept of a person. If you fire a person from a job, you have to give him Hanukkah. You have to give him, I think the normal is a month per year. So a guy who worked for you 12 years, you got to give him a year, you got to give him a month per year. You have to give him 12 months of salary. Hanukkah, same concept. And when you send them forth from you, you cannot send them empty-handed. You must provide them with a gift from your flock and from your grain, your threshing, from your vat, which God has blessed you, you have to give it to him. Now she says, Hanik Tanik is a term denoting an ornament that is sizable, conspicuous, meaning a gift. Give him a gift through that which is recognized that you treated him well. Some explain that it means it's related like placing on his neck, Hanik Tanik. From the flock, from your threshing floor, from your vat, I had it written just this. I might think that it's only these species are included. Therefore, the Torah says, which the Eibusha bless you, meaning from that which the Creator bless you. If so, why are these? You give him cash. So why does the Torah mention dafka these species? To teach us that just as these are unique in that they fall in the category of a blessing, meaning they replenish themselves on their own, same applies to any item that falls in the category of a blessing. Mules are thus excluded since they don't reproduce. In the Tratic Kedushin, our rabbis derive the amount that he must give him for each species by the means of a Gzeira Shavah. So you can look at the Gemara and you can see how much the Chazal said you must give a person. Verse number 15 was a you should remember that you were slaves in the land of Egypt. And the Abish to redeem you. And therefore I commanded you to do this. Rashi says, what does Mitzrayim have to do with this? Because when I gave you gifts repeatedly. First the spoils of Egypt. I didn't let you out of. You went out with a chush gadol. You went out of slavery wealthy. So therefore, do what I did. When you let a person out of your work, you should let him out with money. Don't let him out empty-handed. Verse 16. Let's say the slave says, I don't want to leave you. I love you. I love to be a servant. I love to be a because it's good. Then you take an oil. Then you put it in his earlobe. In the door. And now he becomes an everlasting slave. And so too you do to your maid. Whoa, what is the meaning of this verse? So Rashi says, Eved first of all, servant forever. I might think that this means literally forever. The Torah states regarding the Jubilee year, we know the Torah already states that everybody goes free in the Jubilee year. Each must return to the land property, and each must return to his family. You thus learn that this refers only to the end of the Jubilee. Forever does not mean forever. Forever means until Jubilee. That's number one. What about the Hamascha? She becomes a servant until Jubilee. No. Now she says that the Gemara says this is talking about giving her gifts. You have to give her Hanukkah. It's not only a man you have to give gifts, you have to give a woman too. I might think that the Torah equates that the bronze man also regarding piercing the ear, that she can pierce her ear and become a slave till Jubilee. Therefore, the Torah says, Therefore, the Torah says, if the male servant says it, And therefore, the Torah tells only a man is the law of piercing his ears, that he becomes a slave till Jubilee. But a woman does not have this law. And you have to either let her out by the 6th, 7th year, or puberty. One of those two things will give her total freedom. She marries in the family. Verse 18. You should not be troubled when you send him away for his freedom. Because for 6 years he served you twice as much as a hired servant. And you should bless you, God will bless you for all you have. It's an interesting verse. Rashi says, from here our sages derive that a Hebrew bondsman works both day and night, which is double the work of a daily hire worker. What is the night work? Master gives him what's the night work that he does. So the night work that he does is, we know the law that a Jewish slave can have one of the non-Jewish maids as a wife during his slavery. And that's the work that he does. The master gives him a Canaanite woman as a wife, and her children is conceived belongs to the master. That's the night work. That's why he doesn't want to leave for that reason. Okay, that completes the Chumash for today. Now go to the Tanya of the day. We're going to end the 8th letter of the Alter Rebbe, and we're holding on the 8th letter. At any rate, it is clear from the above that the vegetative growth entails producing something far superior to that which is sown in the ground. It's like a yesh, as the Alter Rebbe said, it's almost like a yesh mi'ayin. It's almost like a creation, something out of nothing. That's the beauty of this analogy of taking a kernel and putting it into the ground, and from this kernel we have a tree. So reverting to the analogy, the Alter Rebbe will now explain how mounts. Now we're going to explain an analogy of a kernel that comes a tree, and in essence, what happens, as we explained, that not that the kernel is the tree, the kernel awakens up the ground, the koyach, the potential in the earth. To we don't bless the kernel. We might bless Beir Priya Eitz or Beir Priya Adama. But the kernel the kernel becomes part of the ground. The kernel actually becomes nullified to the ground. It becomes, as the Alter Rebbe said, the kernel becomes one with the ground. So this is the analogy, and I'm not a farmer, so I don't know exactly how this works, and but I know in general, as the Alter Rebbe said. So reverting to analogy, Alter Rebbe now explains the man's tzedakah is zeireat tzedakahs. So the pasuk says, the one who sows tzedakah. It doesn't say the one who gives tzedakah. It says the one who sows tzedakah. Matzmiach Yeshua brings forth great salvation. So what the Alter Rebbe's question was, why does it say Zayreya tzedakahs, one who sows? This results in his receiving as a reward for his action. I'm sorry, it now explains the man's tzedakah and kindness affects a divine manifestation that utterly transcends man's service. But it still needs man's service, just like the tree still needs the kernel. Still needs that kernel to be put into the ground. So that's why he says Zayreya tzedakah is the result of receiving a reward for his action, not only share in the world to come, which is really the share in the world to come is a corresponding measure, albeit quantitatively superior, but it's still a connection for both this one, the world to come, as is a world, but also a qualitative superior revelation of Tshuva law that transcends far beyond that is called this world. Therefore, a person should realize his reward is not even Gan Eden, because if you think your reward is only Gan Eden, paradise, then it's a limited world. It's a limited reward. The reward is above and beyond what you do. So you have to look at every ma'aseh tzedakah you do. Kol ma'aseh tzedakah she'is in Yisrael. Every aspect of what a Jew does ascends like an elevation of lower waters to the root of the soul above. Just as in the analogy, planting a seed will unveil the earth vegetative power, so to a Jew act of charity will elicit divine attribute of chesed. It's not just going to have that he'll get a reward. No, you're revealing the power of chesed b'shalamayla. Chesed of the Eibishter, chesed of God. Since this act serves as a mayim nukvin, it serves as a lower awakening to the spiritual counterpart of God. Hanikah b'shem Knesset Yisrael, which Malchus of the will of Atzilus, which is called the congregation of Israel. So number one, because the source of Jewish soul, it comes from there, from Malchus of the will of Atzilus. And number two, because within the congregation, the light and the revelation of the emotive attribute of Midas is derived from Yisrael del Eila, from the supernal Israel, which again is Malchus, the will of Atzilus. The Imatata, and the terminology of the Zohar, the source of the Jewish soul, is called Imatata, the lower mother. Right? So we learned before the Bina in Atzilus, Bina, the level of Bina is Ima Ilah, the higher mother, and the Malchus is called Imatata, the lower mother. So by Bina, by contrast, is termed Ilah, the higher level mother, while Malchus is referred to the lower level mother, since it's the mother which the world follows. So it's a source to the world. This Malchus of Atzilus is a source to what it gives to the world. And therefore, we're waking up the source. We're waking up the source of the creation, of the purpose and the creation of this world. Or in the Gemara, Malchus is called Shechina, B'lashon Gemara. In the terminology of the Gemara, it's called Shechina. What means Shechina? Shechina is called the rest. The root is Sheichen, descend, it's present, the lower levels. Which is comprised and is utterly united with all the attributes of God, and it's united with Him totally. First, for which is chesed. That's all comes out from chachma, which is chesed. Man's neighborly act of chesed ascends as a form of naim nukim to the divine attribute of chesed, for it's a source of the attribute of chesed within his own soul. While they are lost man, and through this elevation, chesed avaya mamish awakens up the essence, the part of kindness of God. Shugilu oyes barach, which is the revelation of God, to go down, lamata, to shine, l'neshamas Yisrael, to the souls of the Jewish people. B'chinas gilui rav otzem, in a strong and powerful light. B'shas atfilah, at least in the time of prayer, al kapanim, at least you accomplish this in the time of prayer. For although His greatness is unfathomable, the word Gedula, greatness, denotes an attribute of Chesed. Ad kula kamei klok shivi, to the extent that all are esteemed, are not before Him. So how does it descend below and become capable of being fathomed in the Jewish soul? So here we have the answer, because we're saying like contradicting things. We're saying this world cannot handle this chesed. Then we say this chesed comes down to the world. So how do we put the two together? So therefore, the Alter Rebbe brings down a very famous statement, the Gemara. The Gemara says, where do you find the greatness of God? Where you find His humility. And that's the Eibush that takes His essence and brings it down to the world. That shows the humility of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So where you find the true chesed of the Eibush, the Gedolasei, the true chesed of God, is dafka in this world. Hence, the greatness of chesed of God always finds expression in His humility, meaning in an ability to descend and reveal Himself in the nethermost levels. So this is the reverberating light of God is dafka in this world. So in this world we find the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kimayim Yordim, as the example the Gemara gives, just like water descends from above to below, and the water doesn't change, God's kindness must be likened to water in its ability to manifest itself within the Jewish soul in this lowly world. So the Alter Rebbe said it is 100% right here. The Chesed Hashem is right here. This is what the verse also says. He shone in the darkness a light unto the upright. Chanun v'rachum v'tzadik. That he is gracious and merciful and righteous. Deisha Adam Chanun v'rachum v'tzadik. The Alter Rebbe explains this verse that by being gracious and by being merciful and by being tzedakah, by being righteous, by performing acts of tzedakah oihev, with kindness and love, causes the light of God to shine upon his soul. Which is clothed in his body, ha'oimed, who's standing right now, in the darkness. So a person that gives tzedakah, even though he's still in galus, even though he's still in darkness, the Eivish just shines upon his neshama a great light. Shumishra de chavia, which as he's in galus, as he's in exile, he's in darkness, he's in the hide of a snake. Doesn't make a difference. God nevertheless causes a light to shine into the soul, even as the soul finds itself within the gloom and unenlightened body. Nikra b'shem Yeshua. And now you understand why it says Zereya Tzedakah, through a Jew implanting, sows kindness, sows it, does his job. He just puts that kernel into the ground. He just gives that charity, a very minute. Rabbi Eliezer Yav Prutalani. Rabbi Eliezer gave a penny. Tzmiach Yeshua. He brings the law, causes a deliverance. Yeshua causes a deliverance. Kadis Hapcha, that's what the Zoya means. That through my act, I transform darkness into light. How can a Jew, can a human being, by a simple act, transform darkness into light? Because he's sowing, it's like a tree. He dropped in a kernel, dropped a penny, and it came out a tree. Like yesh mi'ayin, it's like something from totally nothing. Yeshua is not only brings about salvation, but as matzmiach Yeshua causes deliverance. Matzmiach means he causes this to sprout as a result of one having sown tzedakah. Sheyeshua zetzim mechas mizrias hatzachar. This salvation sprouts from the charity that is sown. Because not only did you sow it in this world of charity, you sowed it in the upper world. In the upper world, that's called the Erech Chayfetz, which is the desired land, Malchus of the world of Atzilus. He Shchinu Knesset Yisrael, which is the Shechina, the presence of God, and the gathering of the Jewish nation, Shniki Kain Al Shem, because it's called all these names. There are many names to Malchus of the world of Atzilus, because everything comes from it. And it's all accomplished. How does it come from? Through our sowing in this world. We awaken up the world of Atzilus. Just like again, we awaken up the power of the land in this world through our sowing and planting and watering and fertilizing, whatever we do to the earth. Through our acts of kindness, we awaken up the true land, the land of the world of Atzilus, the Eretz Chayfetz, the desired land. Because this land corresponds to the land above. Everything corresponds to a spiritual identity or spiritual source. What's the spiritual source of this whole world? Is Malchus in Kabbalah, is Malchus of the world of Atzilus. And what is the names of Malchus of the world of Tzitz? Number one of the names is the concept of Eretz, Chayfetz. That's number one. It's called the Ima Tata. It's the lower mother. It's called, because it's the birth, all humans come from it. It's called Knesset Yisrael, the God, because it's the beginning of the source of all the physical side of every soul. It's called the Shechina, presence of God. It's called Var Hashem. Malchuscha, Malchus Kalelam. As is written, your sovereignty, which is an allusion to Malchus. Malchus is the sovereignty of all worlds. So there's two Malchuses over here. Malchuscha, Malchus Kalelam. The Malchus, which is the Malchus. The Malchus of the world of Atzilus is the Malchus of this world. So the supernal land that is sown with the Jewish tzedakah, with the result of the divine revelation, sprouts forth during his prayer. Uvafrat, that's what we pray this. Malchus Olam is part of your prayers. Ufrat min aprat. Uprat min aprat. This applies most particularly. Now the Alter Rebbe is going to extend this because it's a letter about giving tzedakah to Eretz Yisrael. And Eretz Yisrael, out of all lands of the whole world, Eretz Yisrael is straight connected to Malchus Atzilus. Eine Hashem Elokecha b'Meidei Shana Adach Shana. We said this verse last week. The eyes of God upon it. Malchus of the will of Atzilus is connected straight. They have a straight, direct line. Like we say, you daven towards the gateway to heaven. Zeh Shara Shamayim. Even Yaakov Avinu realized that Yerushalayim is the gateway to heaven. So that's why we daven towards Yerushalayim, because it's the gateway to heaven. It's the direct line. Over here, it's a long distance call. Yerushalayim is a direct line. Why? Because Kabbalah says Malchus, the will of Tzilis, is mechuvenes, is directly and faces Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel. Especially, not only give tzedakah all over the world, but if you give tzedakah to Eretz Yisrael, so the above applies to mitzvahs in general. All that bring about, all that is called tzedakah. Particularly so through the actual performance of tzedakah, in the sense of charity. It applies even more particularly when the tzedakah is planted in the Holy Land. Maintaining those who study Torah and serve God there by helping those Jews in Eretz Yisrael until today. Pashid HaMechavenes Kenegdo Mamash, which is truly correspondent to the Holy Land below, is located opposite the Holy Land of heaven. Malchus the word Atzilus. Shazriya Nekletes Takev Yad Ba'aretz Aliyena. Then when I give charity for Eretz Yisrael, the seed of tzedakah is immediately absorbed in the supernal land. There's no obstacle. It's a straight, direct line. No hindrance whatsoever. Since Eretz Yisrael, there's nothing that intercepts between the land of life, the supernal world of Malchus Atzilus, and the land of life below, the physical holy land. And Alter Rebbe said this verse where he said, Ki zeh shara shamayim, because Eretz Yisrael, Yerushalayim, is the gateway of heaven, referring to the location of the holy temple in the holy land. Mashenkim b'chutz la'aretz. This is not so outside the land of Eretz Yisrael, where various factors may hinder the implementation of tzedakah. In the land of life, there might be some static between that connection. But if you give to Eretz Yisrael, just like I was collecting for Eretz Yisrael, you have direct line. V'dai amen. It's suffice to those that understand. And that ends the 8th letter. Alter Rebbe. Today is the 28th day of the month of Av. The Tillim for today is chapter 135, chapter 139. The number is the 28th day of Av. Two general approaches of viewing the body. This particular organ. Six, to spread the metal bones. That is so that they know sick or so approaches about sugar is sugar.